All right, so for lab 10-1, we are going to be taking creating a PowerShell script to import users into Active Directory. So I'm going to read out the requirements here. So you've been given the file below containing a list of employees that have just been acquired by your company as part of an acquisition of a smaller company of the like. You will need to use PowerShell to create these new employees in your lab environment's Active Directory based on the file provided. The file contains the user's first name, last name, department, and job title. So here's our file here. And then here is our example that we're going to use to write this PowerShell script. You can see that it has a lot of the same stuff that we're going to be doing. So we're going to go through and we're going to recreate this. We don't have the OU here, but we're going to write some extra logic to do that, to put it in a specific OU based off what department they're in. So first thing we want to do is we want to get our, go into our Hyper-V. And since we're going to be interacting with Active Directory, we're going to do this from the domain controller. So we just need to start up our ADDC here. I think we should still have enhanced session mode turned on. I have to see. Okay, so when we connect to our virtual machine now, we got to go to Show Options, Local Resources, and More, because we have to transfer that file from our machine here, our lab environment machine, to this virtual machine. So we want to make sure that we pass through our C drive so that we can access that file. Okay, so now it's starting up. So once this starts up, well, actually, we can download this file a while. So let's download this file. And then we're going to open it in a folder. And then I'm going to actually take this file and I'm just going to drop it on the root of the C drive here. And that's just so it's easier to get into the virtual machine here. Okay, so now we can log in. And for sake of argument here, I'm just going to log in as the domain administrator once it comes up here. Okay. So if we look at the script here that's laid out, you can see that their CSV file looks pretty similar to what we're going to be using. We don't have anything to look at this Excel-wise, but if we look at it in Notepad, we can see that first name, last name, department, job title, and then we have the names, the department, and the job title. So what we're going to do here is we're going to basically mimic this PowerShell script and kind of do the same thing, although a couple differences here. We're going to set the OU based on the department, and then also we're going to just set a default password. So that's going to be how we do this. So let's go into our domain controller. All right, so that's up. So first thing we want to do is we want to go and we want to open up the, well, actually, if you just search for Windows PowerShell ISE, if we right click on this, we want to always run this as administrator, okay, when we open it. So this is going to be our PowerShell ISE, and this is where we're going to write our script at. So if you click the new button here, we can create a new script, and then you get all your commands on the right over here. So first thing we want to do is we want to save this. So I'm going to actually just save this to, we're going to save this under documents, and then we're going to call this import-ad users. And then it's going to automatically save it. We could just do .ps1, and we're just going to save that in our documents. And then also what we need to do is if we go into our documents here, we see that, but we need the file. So if we go under the C drive from lab 0001, we can copy our file here and then go back to documents and paste it in here. And now we have our file there. So now that we got our files there saved, so first thing we want to do is we need to import the Active Directory module, right? So the reason we're importing the module is that's how you interact with Active Directory. So first thing we're going to do is import dash module, and then you say Active Directory. And then you enter. I like to leave a couple spaces. And then here is where we're going to import the CSV. So this is another command, import-CSV. So what this is going to do is it's going to take the file at this location, and then it's going to import that into an object. And then the object is going to contain each row. And then you can see each row, it's going to loop. So let's do users equals import dash CSV, and then dot slash it's called acquired users dot CSV, right? So what the name of our file is acquired users dot CSV. Okay. All right, so now we've got it imported. So now we need to loop through each record. So we're going to do a for each, and then it's not highlighting that, but and then you could say for each user in AD users, and then end quote that, and then you put your beginning carriage and your ending carriage. And you always want to do the carriages before you write the code in the middle, that way you don't get confused on where you're at. Just an easy way to do that. Now when you reference the fields here, you want to use exactly how the text is displayed in the file. So if I open the file here, so we'll do first name, and then we're going to loop through here. So first we want to get our username. We're not going to do password. Actually, we're not going to have a username. We're going to build our username based on the first name and last name. And then we're going to have department and job title. So say, that's not what I wanted. So we'll say first name equals user dot first name, and then we'll say last name equals user dot last name, and then say department equals user dot department, and then job title equals user dot job title. All right. So how can we tell if this is working, right? So an easy way to do that is you can do either print or write host. And then we can say so let's just say first name. And we'll just put dashes in it. Last name, department, job title. All right. So let's save this and let's run it real quick and see what happens. Oh, we got to change the directory where we run this from. So let's do, at the top, we can do CD, and then we could say dot slash, well, actually, we could do C users administrator, and then documents. Let's try that. And there you can see that it's written out each row. All right, so another thing you can do in here is you can clear the console pane, which is kind of nice, so you can clear out everything that's in there. So if you would run this from within that folder, you wouldn't really need to do this, but for this we might need to. All right, so now we know this is working. So let's remove that. Now what we need to do is we need to assign a username, and then we need to assign a password. So we're just going to use a common password, but let's do username. So our usernames for this were in the format of first name dot last name. So what we can do is we can do username equals first name dot last name, and that's going to be our username. And then for password, we're just going to use our password that we were using earlier that works. So that should give us what we need for that. So we still have to figure out how we're going to do the OU part. So what we can do for the OU part is first of all, we need to do an if statement here. So we can say if department equals, and this is where you do your operator, and you could say equals sales, then our OU is this. If our department equals HR, then it's this. If our department is equal to, what was our other department? So we have sales, IT, accounting, then it's this, and then if department, well, you could technically do a switch statement for this as well, but for this example, I'm just going to do a bunch of if statements. So there's your 4 locations. So what I'm going to do up here is I'm going to define a variable called OU, and I'm just going to leave it equal to nothing, because what we need to actually do is we need to get the path. So as you can see here, how you do this with Active Directory is it's based on the distinguished name. So you see it looks like this here. So we need to get that out of our Active Directory server here. So easiest way to do that is just to open up Active Directory users and computers. And then what we can do is we can go to a user. So let's do one in accounting. So we go to properties. Oh. So first what you need to do is you need to view advanced features. And then if you go under accounting, users, and open Bob Burt and go to attribute editor, you can go to distinguished name here. And here you can see this is the path that we want to use. So we want to take this part and copy it, and then that's what we can use in our script. So for accounting, it's going to be this. So we can just do and say pound OU equals that. Okay, and then we can kind of copy this down, do the same thing for sales, and we'll just change this OU here to sales. And then we can do the same thing for HR. So we'll just change this to HR. And then do the same thing for IT. And we just need to make sure that we're spelling them right. So IT, sales, accounting, and HR. Okay. So there's where we're going to get our OUs from. Oops. And you got to remember to put a closing bracket on these. I forgot to do that. Otherwise, it will throw an error at you. Okay, so now we got our OU, we got our password, we got our username. So now we got to check to make sure that the user does not exist first, right? So that's where we're going to use our first commandlet for Active Directory. So what we're going to do is we're going to go down to our next line here, and we're going to say if, and then we're going to say get-ad user, and then as you can see here, the -f, and then you can say SAM account name equals username. And this has to be in these type of pipes. So SAM account name equals user name. And then so make sure those are carroted. Yep, and they are. Okay. How do I get out of that? Oh, I guess I gotta refresh it. Okay, so now we can put our statements in. So if it equals that, we want to write a warning, right? -warning. And then you write your warning out. So this one says a user account with username already exists in Active Directory. So that's what we're going to put. So I'll say a user with the username already exists in Active Directory. Okay. So there's our check that we're going to do. And now we need to add an else after that, because if succeeds there and it doesn't exist, then we want to create it. So we're going to go to our next line. We're going to do an else, and then we're going to put our beginning and ending carets on it, or our carriages. So now is where it actually creates the user. Now they like to do this where they put it on multiple lines. I don't particularly like to do that, just because it's easier if you read it out on a line. So what we're going to do is we're just going to put it all in one line. So here we're going to do new-ad user, and we're going to say Sam account name is username, and then we're going to do user principal name, and user principal name is going to be with your @domain name. So user principal name, and here we're going to do username @TEC330.local, because that's our domain name. And then next we're going to do our name. Do first name space last name, and then we'll do given name equals first name, and we'll do surname. Oop. That's going to be your last name. And then enabled equals true. And then when you do true false in PowerShell, it always has to have the $sign in front of it. And then we have our display name. And so we'll say display name equals, and this is going to be last name, comma, first name, I believe. Yeah. And then we have our path. And that's going to be our OU. And then we have our count password. And then this is the one where we need to do this convert to secure string with our password that we're using. So we put that in parentheses. So we do convert -to secure string. I believe that's what it is. Convert to. Oops, sorry, I missed that. So it's convert to -secure string, and then we pass in our password, and then we say as plain text. Password as plain text, and then force. Okay, so that'll give us most of what we need. Now, also what we need to do is we need to add the department and job title, because we do have that data, so we might as well add it here when it gets created. So what we can do here is we can do department, and then we can say job title. Is that it? Position? No, I think it is title. And then we'll do job title. Okay. And there's our last line there. So now this is a pretty basic script, and you could do a lot with this and add in, you know, a lot of login capabilities. This is really just to get you familiar with how PowerShell works, how to write scripts in it, that type of stuff. So what we're going to do here is we're going to save this, and then we're going to run this, and hopefully it works on the first try. Okay, well, we did not get an error. So let's see. Do we have a bunch more users in here? Look at that. It did work on the first try. So you can see here, we got their names, got their account. And then if I go to organization, there's their job title and department. So you can see how this is fairly easy to write scripts in PowerShell. You know, you can do all kinds of different things. And now if we run this again, we should get warnings. So let me try that. Let's see if we run it again. There you go. There's all the warnings. All right, so that's pretty much it for this lab this week. So I would say that if you want to adapt this to make it more advanced, or write logging in, do anything like that, you can. But this is just the basis of what we're doing for this week. So what you should be submitting is either a screenshot of your PowerShell script. So a screenshot of this whole script right here, or you can just save this file and then copy it back to your lab machine like so here, and then from your lab machine you can then submit this to the assignment.